Hello, and welcome to a very, very special edition of the Character Select podcast. My name is James. You guys all well know me. But let's get on to why this is going to be a special edition. We do have a number of leading owners, some upcoming owners for some local fighting game community teams. We have Rise here with their owner Hulk. We have 200 Knives with James here. And of course, we have our very own resident Elf Grimulus, who everyone here should know very well and has seen him around. How's everyone doing today then?
Yeah,
I'm groovy.
Very good.
Oh,
Yeah.
groovy.
So-
I'm quite excited. Yeah, I'm quite excited for this one actually. I think it could be quite an interesting podcast.
yeah, we do have a number of different topics. I think I've spoken to a little bit to Hulk about what we're going to be covering. So I'm just going to dive straight back into it. So we do have all the owners of the teams. We're going to be talking about stuff you wouldn't normally see from the front. This is all very behind the scenes content stuff most players will know about, but people watching this like fighting game tournaments and stuff will not see any of this sort of backstage information. So it's stuff like sponsorships, how we choose player sponsorships, and a couple other sort of little bits of topics. But I'm going to start off with the first one, which is the main point, which is how does a team go about sponsoring a player? What is their philosophy about choosing a player and the requirements for it? And I'm going to pass it over a little bit first over to Hulk, and we'll go in sort of numerical order.
Okay, well, I think to sort of answer that, you've got to look at sort of the types of sponsorships that have been available in the past and kind of how traditional FGC sponsorships have always worked and how kind of like esports sort of closes the gap a little bit on what, the types of sponsorships available to players. For us personally, we're always looking at each division as a project. So when we look at players, we're not necessarily looking to cherry pick, if that makes sense. So we generally do a little bit of scouting in the scene. We do, obviously, you can look at all the data you want and say, okay, who's finished where at VSF or at an Elf tournament, for example, but that's not necessarily the way that we work. When we look at it, we look at kind of the types of matches, how there may be a loss on the end of it from the player that we're looking at, but kind of like the mentality of that player in the next tournament, or sort of even the kind of performance that the player gave, and that gives us an indication of kind of where we can potentially take that player. We when I say development, a lot of the time we can't give the very top advice to some of these players, because that they are, some of them at the top of their game. So a lot of the time it is a mentality and a mental approach in the team aspect. So for our particular team, I was interested in getting a local chemistry. So we have two guys from Bradford who, obviously, if you watch the Belong Arena Clash, two of those players were of a three who did really well against some more of the more known London players in Senpai Shiki and Amoj King, and those two players are Risky Luck and Guki Akuma, and they play with each other quite a lot locally. Shen is a more experienced person from the north, from Manchester, and I've known him for quite a while actually, and I know his personality. He's a very, very competitive person, as are the other guys. But he obviously has been there for a very long time, and I see Shen as a mentor to the two lads up in Bradford. Despite possibly Shen will say that those two are actually better than him. That's what he will say in his own words. But they just don't have the experience that Shen has. If you watch him, he's very calm. He's very calm, and that's a composition that I'm interested in. Okay, we've got two young guys, 17 and 20 is very young, and then we have Shen, who's obviously, I'm not going to mention his age on stream, who's not of that.
30 something.
Right, I'm sorry. 21, who I think can pass that kind of. They can look at him and say, well, Shen's under a lot of pressure in this game, but look at his body language, look at his, between rounds, what is he doing?
I think you're right. They can definitely learn a lot from Shen, because he's been around for a very, very long time, and able to take control of certain situations. I mean,
Yeah.
I think as far as players go, he's got a fairly strong track record up north, but I think that the challenge really comes when he goes down south. When anybody comes down south,
Yeah.
this is where the sharp bit is. And for us, I'm going to just jump in for you there. I think we're quite spoilt because we're fortunate enough to have the majority of the strongest players in the south of
No,
England.
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So what we look for when we're picking players for our teams is not so much tournament placings. Personally, I couldn't really give a jot about that. You know, it's because we are first and foremost a community.
Yeah.
We will look to push forward, support the strongest of our community members, the ones who do want to go and compete elsewhere. So it's not so much where you placed in the tournament; it's your drive to go to
Yeah.
tournaments and actually compete.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So we'll have, for example, we've got Gosain, we've got Senpai Shiki, you mentioned him earlier, we've got Ronissa, we've got
Shurdle.
Robin, we've got Shurdle, indeed, Shurdle, hey Shurdle, and we've got one other person I always forget the last one.
Picked up K-Wiz.
There you go, K-Wiz. Thank you.
That's your latest.
Not a good start.
I know, right? All of these people are very active in our community in one way or another. They'll always attend our events. They'll always show up to our tournaments, attend our community nights, and all of them have something to offer. They're all positive people. They're all supportive people, and that's what we like in our community, and that's what we look for when we're looking for players to represent us. You know, at the end of the day, you have to be a brand ambassador, if you like.
100%.
So if you're going to be that guy who's going to be, you know, putting up on social media, oh, F this and screw that, and this was rigged, and there's tons of lag in this. I don't want that. That's not interesting to anybody. Nobody likes an overly salty person. If you're going to be positive about stuff, if you're going to be a contributor in lots of different ways, which many of the people in the elf community actually are. For example, you've got Shanice Redbean, you've got I'm forgetting all the names here, but there's lots of people who contribute. Alan, myself, even it's Streaky. You'll kill you for that. Strikey, even Gems. We all contribute in one way or another, and that's what we look for. If you want to be put in the public eye, we'll quite happily do that for you.
Yeah. No, I think you said something there that was quite. I sort of see parallel with Rise in terms of the attitude. So it's about being part of a bigger picture and having that attitude. It's not all about sort of where you finish in tournament. Obviously that is going to come into it in a sense, but you know there has to be you can't just have one without the other in my and just to touch on, because obviously you know Jay's probably waiting to say his piece, but
okay, I'm listening.
From moving sort of down south, you know, we already had a player in KNX. Now, this is probably what people don't know about, because we had KNX for a while in Tekken, and obviously he went to the Tekken Invitational, and he won Fist of the Not Star, and people were a little bit taken by surprise because he was more known for being a Street Fighter player. He did play Tekken X Street Fighter.
What's that?
Tekken X Street Fighter. Oh, Street Fighter X Tekken.
Yeah. That's the eluded game that's never come. That's never happened.
I see that. Okay. The game that's not out yet, but that's another story. But we picked up him a while back, and I think it was just that was an entry to Tekken, but we felt like it wasn't a real entry because we didn't set up any sort of path for him. It was kind of like just see how things go at certain tournaments, you know, ask him where he wants to go and this kind of thing. But yeah, he's from Birmingham, and we felt like if we could partner him up with someone who is, you know, an active player, and that's where we sort of got in touch with Dante, and it kind of led on to sort of London players really, which, you know, we had a pool of London players, and the connection.
You basically put your fingers in our pie, didn't you? Yeah.
Well,
I see where this is going.
I've stayed away from London.
ASAP Marco is well known for obviously his streaming and his YouTube and stuff like that. But he will tell you himself he's really keen for offline experience, and this was something that we wanted to bring for him. Really, is just to sort of give him that kind of that extra experience that he feels he needs, and we feel like we can help him with. And then obviously False God, he made such an impression at versus fighting with doing what he did, Joey Fury match, etc. But the thing is with that wasn't clear cut. That it wasn't the position of False God that kind of made us go after him, if that makes sense. It was like everyone's expecting him. What's he going to do next? And that's a big thing I feel in any kind of competitive arena. Is okay, you've done something good. Is that a one-off? What are you going to do next? And that's a lot of pressure actually, because you can ride that wave of doing really well in a big tournament, and you're full of adrenaline. But the next tournament is always, for me personally, from what I've seen and others, is the pressure that the next tournament brings, and that's the aspect we're going with False God, because I think everyone would say False God is probably the best player in Rise, but that is also when it comes to sort of comparing, they're all different in their own way. So we want to mix that together, and we want them to all share that kind of knowledge, and everybody improve to get up on a very close scale, if that makes sense.
Mm. Now, do you know, I kind of want to continue hearing what you've got to say, but I know we've missed somebody out here. There's meant to be 4 people in this chat.
Yep.
We did have another one, didn't we?
You've not stopped talking, have you?
Oh. Guess it's my turn then, I guess, guys.
Well, no, I mean, you've not really heard what 200k have to say about their character selection.
Yeah.
Did I just name drop the podcast?
Yeah, just a little.
Honestly, I didn't know anything about Tekken, nothing at all. But I went to Raddy. I don't know if you guys know him. He was the bar manager at Eden, which I attended every month for CS:GO, and I just wanted to get into the fighting community because I've heard good things. It's close community, everyone's welcoming. And it's all offline, which is what I'm all about. Events, getting to events, meeting people, as well as an online presence, of course. So I just said, look, who's good? And getting to all the events, and then I picked up Jacket and Jordan, which is Tech Enthusiast. And then we started there. And then Kerber he mentioned, which he didn't actually know. So then I just had a chat with him. Then we started with them 3, and then I went to the Manchester event, the NBA one, and met Sayajin and Divine Tricks, and they're really nice guys. So I was just talking to them, and then I didn't actually pick them up straight after. But then once I got speaking to them, and I decided to expand into Scotland as well. So we've got 2 from Leeds, and then 3 guys from Scotland. Or 4 now, sorry, because there were DJ Vu as well, which he wasn't at the event. And so then I thought, that's the full team now. I didn't want to pick up any more. And then Signal Farfalla, he approached me. And I just decided to pick him up. Thought it'd be a good decision. But yeah, push to talk, I've got to set as a back button. It's just refreshing everything. 1 second.
Not a wise choice. Anyway, so while James is fixing his mic, because I can't hear him.
Hello?
There we go.
Oh,
there
hello.
We go.
Right,
Hello.
yeah, so I had it set as mouse free, and it would just send in every web page back. But yeah, I originally was going to keep it in the north, but obviously I keep all options open. I never, reject anyone. Any application I take into consideration. Even if you're a new beginner, if you bring something to the table, like you're going to events, you're streaming, you have social following, stuff like that. I'm not just looking for results. It's not always about results.
Indeed.
Our guys, I don't know if you noticed, have been going to all the Tekken World Tours in Europe, a few of them, 2 each.
Yeah.
Which, were a big interest for me, really. because it's like the biggest event in Tekken.
I think you just raised something which is quite interesting there, because I mentioned that everybody in the elf community, not just the team, but the elf community brings something to the table. And you mentioned that your guys, they stream, they have a social presence. That's actually very important, because as a brand ambassador, you've got to be able to further the knowledge of the people that you're playing for.
Yeah, I completely agree. And on that note, I actually want to talk about.
It's like, sorry.
Yeah, no, go for it.
It's like if you're wanting the money to come into Tekken, that's what people have got to do. They've got to build a fan base. That's what sponsorships want. That's where the investors want. They want people to have a following, to advertise their product or stuff like that.
Actually, you just led me perfectly on to the next point, James. So, which is, we've spoken about what you guys look for to bring in players, what you choose as criteria to sponsor people. But in terms of a sponsorships, it's a two-way street. So players will provide a certain ideas, certain avenues to help out the team, the community, or whatever. But a player is also looking to gain from partnering with the sponsor. So what sort of meaningful models and things you guys sort of in place to help the player out? Because it's a two-way street. The player also does their part, but the sponsor has to help out the player achieve whatever the player needs to, whatever their goal is, maybe streaming, maybe attending tournaments, that sort of avenue. What do you guys do to help them in sort of a mutual beneficial relationship?
Yeah, so I mean, I can start with that one. Obviously, different players, they offer different things. Obviously, I'm not going to go into sort of what each player sort of gets. So you know, as part of that, but we feel like we have to strengthen firstly their activity. So I think that's one of the key things. Some of these players are really keen to go to more events, and that's first and foremost helping them get to those events, helping them get entry to those events. In terms of, I don't know if I can speak for just myself, but a lot of esports organizations, they have a model where they will actually accumulate some of the prize pool that the players achieve. We definitely don't do that. That's something that I feel like isn't something that's fair on the players, in terms of, because you know yourself, the FGC prize pools are not huge, and
it is very small.
Yeah, and obviously, hopefully that's going to grow, because the more interest in the game, it is going to grow. The developers will put in, obviously. I think that's what that is. I don't know the model for Tekken, but I'm guessing it's sort of aesthetic stuff and the DLC and whatnot. But eventually there's going to be a third parties that want to get involved. That's going to boost these prize pools. So first and foremost, we definitely don't touch that prize pool. So whatever people earn at tournaments, we make sure that they keep 100% of that. And that does mean that we will incur losses, but I don't want to talk too much businessy on this. But we do. If you want to use a business term, for me personally, for Rise, it is a loss leader, because we feel like there is legs in Tekken. There is legs in Tekken. Certainly, if you look across to the States with the E-League and stuff like that, that's getting a lot of attention. That's really interesting. I think when you can put on a production like that. And then you see all the productions that are they're getting better over time, aren't they? Even locally, the Elf production was great down at the Red Bull facility. That was really cool.
We put together. We do the best with what we have. To be fair.
Yeah, no, that's it.
I mean, there was a time when we were literally putting things together with like sticky back plastic and a bit of corrugated cardboard.
Why not? Why not? Why not? You can see that it has so much potential. Sorry, I'm just making sure my cat doesn't knock off my webcam. It's almost happening. So just I'll touch back actually on what your actual question. So we, like I say, when we try and develop players, I set certain milestones for my players as well, and obviously this is quite new for some of the players that have joined us as well. But further down the line, we're setting incentives on top of what we already what we already supply to the players. It could be monetary, it could be endemic sponsorships that we get from our club sponsorship packages and stuff like that. But setting milestones certainly, and bringing sort of attention to their streams, like you were talking before about streaming content. Obviously, nearly all of our fighters do that currently. Yeah. So that's something that we want to push. Some are doing it more prominently than others. Like I said, I talked about ASEP Marco, but Dante's been streaming his set. False God's been streaming his sets. The guys up north, Risky Look and Shen, they're doing their sets. But we want to increase that as well, because at the end of the day, that is going to be an avenue for all our players that they should explore in order to boost their profile. Obviously, it's going to help boost our profile, but ultimately, Tekken, I guess, it's very small margins. I think sometimes people forget to look at the fine details and they say, oh, okay, what's 3 people streaming going to do for an entire game? But these are the little things. One person sees someone do it and another person does it, and eventually these kind of things are catching on. And like I say, that's where everyone starts to benefit who's involved.
Can I just put in one thing I find, like, there's a lot of people that don't actually use social media to the full in the Tekken community like they do in other communities where the money's big. That's because they're not seeing what it can benefit if they're building up that fan base. For the community as a whole, even event organizers and stuff, they don't advertise enough on social media.
We advertise plenty.
Yeah, you guys do. I'm seeing Facebook events, and that's it for events.
I think what Jay is saying is obviously there's less individuals who promote themselves. Okay, I think there's definitely a discussion on Twitter. There's definitely a discussion on Facebook. But I think as a brand, you talk about being a brand ambassador, but treating themselves as a brand as well, because ultimately that's where everything's going, isn't it? And promoting themselves on Twitter in a professional manner, uploading tech videos, just things, these kind of things. A lot of people do. It's getting more and more prominent, but it's not as prominent as other games. And I think that's the culture that I don't think it should be a culture change, but there should be a culture, let's say, an addition of this kind of thing.
Well, I think it's also to know that streaming is not easy. And,
no, 100%.
And streaming Tekken is, I think, harder than most games, purely because of the sheer focus you put while you're in a game. It leads to a lot of streamers really struggling to sort of interact with the chat, interact with what they're doing, why they're doing it, as they're doing it. With other games, there's downtime. You can sort of chill a little bit, talk with chat. There's up and down. Tekken, the only time you have downtime is during queue, basically, while you're queuing for a match.
And not to mention that, with Tekken being as huge as it is, there's a ton of other people doing it right now.
Yeah.
So you're always going to be fighting for, some screen time.
Yeah, it's true. It's always the case. And actually, since we're coming sort of to a nice close on that, and we're talking about streams.
Wait, we're not coming to a nice close. No? Not at all. There's 2 people who haven't said anything about that subject yet.
I'm sorry. Hulk's been talking for about an hour now.
You know what, Hulk. What, Ryan, were you above me? You're barred from speaking for the next 20 minutes, mate.
Where's the producer? Where is the producer? Cut me off.
Okay. So we'll bring it on to you, fans. Since you are the loudest right now. And the loudest always gets what they want.
Isn't it? Damn right. No, I can't even remember what your question was, to be fair, but I think I got the gist of it. So, a common myth is that once you become sponsored, you are automatically guaranteed a wage, or you're automatically guaranteed at least travel and tournament entry. That could be a thing for maybe a club like Rise, for example, but I don't actually know what you guys I don't know what you guys do actually. So regarding tournament entry and travel and wages and stuff like that, but I know that's a thing out in the States. There's no company, no organization, no group in the UK that is able to do that right now that I know of. We certainly can't.
Can I just say, the first event I went to for Tekken was Sunday Face Off, and Metal Queer Solid was there shouting that UK fighting scene should be on salaries. But I didn't agree with it. Maybe, they can get help and stuff, but salaries, what company is going to salary?
No one's going to do that.
Worthwhile investment.
Now, the thing is, we have to, as a community, the greater, wider FGC, not just Tekken, but the Street Fighter guys, if you like, and whoever else in the FGC, the wider FGC, have to put together a decent enough package, a marketable package for companies to look at and say, actually, do you know what? This is a viable option. We can put money here and see a return in one way or another. Yeah, no company's just going to give out money and say, look, here's a budget of, I don't know, £500,000 for the year. Do what you want with it. Not without seeing a decent ROI. That's the return on investment for those of you who don't know. So that's what we try to do with Elf. We've built up the community. We've gone into kind of esporty teamy things. We're new to it still, but we've got a sponsor in Dragon Slay. Hey, Dragon Slay, thank you very much for what you've done so far. And they help us out with the guys that they see are doing the best in terms of placements, in terms of visibility, that sort of thing. The ones who are being brand ambassadors for them, because there's two tiers. There's us, Elf, and then there's Dragon Slay. That's our sponsorship tier list. For us locally, I can't offer much. Why? Because our model is this. We simply have a community, and I do events all the time. Every other week, you'll probably see on Twitter or on Facebook that I'm putting up an event. Hey, we're doing a dark tournament, or we're doing an event at Red Bull, or we're doing something else at Soul Morph, or something. There's always something going on.
Or an online tournament, which we...
yeah, exactly. An online tournament. We've got a couple of those coming up as well. There's always something going on, but there's not much money coming in. Why? Because for me, what's most important is getting people playing. Once people get playing and you get used to your brand and the quality that your brand put out, then they're more interested. They tell their friends, they keep coming. And that's how we've managed to grow so steadily as a community over the past couple of years. And that's how we've managed to attract the attentions of a couple of sponsors as well that we've had over the years as well, and most recently Dragon Slay. And that's how you do it. You have to put together a package which is marketable. And once you have that, and this goes for the players as well, then you can start demanding money and stuff in return.
Yeah, I mean, are we allowed to speak? No, tell you what, Jay, were you about to speak?
Yeah, right. I totally agree with that. I mean, everything we do from 200k, we don't take anything back from prize money, same as Rise. It's all funded by myself and my business partner in this, Slump. But yeah, I'm doing the same. I'm not actually looking for any sponsors at the minute. I'm going to build a brand first. I'm not going to go to sponsors and say, I want this, because I don't have nothing to give back to them yet.
Exactly.
I want to build a brand before I actually search for the sponsors.
Exactly.
Yeah, are we allowed to speak?
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're barred.
Well, I was just going to touch on, obviously, it's slightly different for us, because obviously we have been established in other games, and I think that's where I touched on the sort of loss leader kind of phrase, because we have got a package to offer to sponsors, but Tekken has been a very small voice in that, because of like the things that you mentioned, really. So to answer the question, we don't pay salaries for Tekken, because you're absolutely right. I don't know if this has been spurred on, this whole sort of conference call and podcast or whatever, by the videos that have been posted out recently regarding sponsorships. I don't know if anyone's seen it.
Nope, I haven't actually seen. I have mentioned sponsorships and stuff in previous podcasts, just as a general point, and we wanted to sort of expand on it.
No, but there was a video by somebody who was kind of basically saying, if you don't get a salary, you are a bitch, and I think that was pretty much that was the phrasing that was being used.
Oh, that was the Bullet Show podcast.
That's the one, Bullet. Yeah.
Bulletproof.
Now, I did take offence to that, to be honest, and I thought, I better not write anything, because I felt like there's obviously a lot that goes on behind closed doors that certain people won't know about, and they will think that really we're just sat here just raking in money.
There's no money.
Yeah, we're sat here raking in, Jay's there, just, he's retired.
I wouldn't be working like 50, 60 hours a week if that was the case.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had Rise now since 2009. As a company, 2011. So I obviously started off as not a company. It's a company for the sheer fact that we do have money coming in, but we also have money coming out. So it's purely for tax reasons. We do not make profit in a sense of, we put everything back in. Anything we make out of the company, we put it directly back in, because it's, as you said before, it's about having the right package. We feel like we have got a package to go to sponsors and get certain funding, which we do pass on to our players. And Tekken receives the least of that, because I actually personally fund most of the Tekken, because it's like Jay was saying there. It's because I am an investor, and obviously we have another investor that I won't mention, but from Tekken's perspective, it is purely invested from myself, because I believe in Tekken. I believe in the vision and the things that I want to do. So the sort of funding that we get from sponsors doesn't cover Tekken. It may do at the start of the month for maybe one event, but then over the course, everything else is then funded by myself therein.
Tekken's actually very expensive if you consider where all of the tournaments are around the country. I mean, obviously, if you live in London, that's great, because we'll look after you. But you've got the ones in Manchester, you've got ones up in Leeds, you've got other ones happening more and more over the country. It costs a lot, and if you've got a team of say 5 or 6 people, you've got tournament entry and travel. Like we've got Warriors Reborn coming up soon, and that's costing us an absolute packet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And not so much us, because I think the players are paying the majority of the way.
Plus, it's an offline game, as Jay said.
Yeah.
That's a big factor as well. A lot of these, you can pick up a team in different games, and they can spend 60-70% of their time online, and that costs you nothing. So then you build up to one offline tournament or 2 offline tournaments in a 6-month window, and it's much more manageable.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Manchester event that's going on, and then there's Berlin on the same day. So all of our guys are going to be in an event on that day.
Yeah.
We got Senior, Farfalla, and Kerbery both in Berlin, and then all the rest of the guys are all going to be at Manchester.
Yeah, it's a lot for everyone to deal with as well. It's a lot of planning, organizational stuff. That's something I think players can benefit from when they have others helping them manage how they're going to get to events and things like that. That's sort of things you could provide to some players, I suspect, in that regard. Not in terms of maybe monetary, but organizing, finding out plans, details, everything for them.
Yeah, and I just want to say this as well, because ultimately we have an end goal that we have with Rise in terms of, and I say end goal, I don't mean like we exit Tekken. That's not what I mean. But in terms of reaching where we want to be in Tekken. But we're not bitter about players leaving us either. If someone else is offering a salary, take that deal, 100%. This is not something that we're not in it to step on people's toes. We're not in it to sort of just monopolize the game. So yeah, like I say,
need a team league.
Yeah. Well, that's something that we're looking at.
Actually, somebody mentioned what's the word? Mentioned that to me the other day. We should actually do a 5v5 between the 3 of us. Create our own league.
Yeah. Let's do it.
I think that could be interesting.
I've been thinking.
We've already won it, by the way, so that's fine.
We've got 2 London players though, mate.
That's all right. That's all right. I see them all the time.
Yeah. Are you going to pay them off?
They play for you undercover.
Yeah, behind enemy lines.
Yeah.
Also, I've been really curious. 200 Knives. How did you guys come about with that name?
Well, it's a long story. We was a casual CS:GO team, a UK team, and we had no team name at all. And one of our team members, he kept going on about 100 Thieves, but he called them 200 Knives, and he genuinely thought they were called 200 Knives. So I said, "That's it. I'm calling our team that." And then since then, we were just a casual team, few mates, and then we made a few roster changes, and then we became a serious team. And we were doing quite well offline and stuff. So we just carried on with the name, and then now Slump, who's my partner in 200k, he was also a part of that team. So we just carried on with the name, and we mainly brand as 200k now, rather than 200 Knives. But we have had a lot of criticism because of just say you're a 100 Thieves copy and stuff like that. But it was actually a joke to begin with.
To be fair, I wouldn't have got the 100 Thieves reference anyway. So 200k for me sounds awesome. Sounds like money.
I would have thought it was roughly related to. I would have thought my thought. I had that exact same thought you're talking about, James. When you mentioned, I was like,
mean, everyone did it. I mean, you know, but it was like just started as a joke, and then we just thought, why not? We've built something. Let's stay with it.
Yeah, completely.
Because we like Slump, he's a streamer, he's a live streamer on CS:GO, and he gets good views and stuff like that, and he has a lot of fans. So he's had fans that bought merch and stuff like that. So we just kind of stuck with it. We didn't want to rebrand when people have bought merch and stuff like that already.
Yeah, it makes sense. It keeps everyone feeling satisfied, all the fans happy that they get to represent and show off that they are supporting your team. And talking about streams, I mean, I've been wanting to take a slight interlude to the sponsorship and talk about what's been happening in Tekken. I'm assuming a lot of you guys have been keeping up with the Tekken Twitch drama. Well, I say drama, the sort of recent influx of Tekken Twitch streamers that have come,
hasn't it?
That have come through. I want to know you guys' opinions on the guys that have come in.
It's really good because this is what I was talking about earlier about. This is what sponsors like. They like publicity and advertisements. And if you want the money to come into Tekken, that's where it's going to come in. If people are streaming and building a fan base for themselves, it's not only good for Tekken, but it's good for the players. And it's also
for me. Sorry.
It's enjoyable. You've got somebody to watch. You look up to them. You can learn from them and communicate with the pro players. Which if you're not getting to offline events, you can't really talk to them, but you can in the Twitch chat.
You say that. Have you tried talking in Forzen's chat? Have you even tried? It's just
like if you're in like the top UK players, they're all interactive with the chat in the UK community. From what I've seen anyway.
See, what I found interesting, right? I was perusing Tekken on Twitch as you do in the evening when you're going from work, and I was like, hang on a minute, is there a TWC event going? Because I went on this thing and there was this one dude I'd never seen before, heard of before, because I'm not known to watch Twitch streamers usually for individuals, and he had like 14,000 viewers, and I'm like, what the hell is this? So I've got one in the Elf Discord, and I goes, guys, have you seen this? And I'm like, yeah, it's blah blah blah, whatever his name was, and I was like, is this good? Because this is odd. Seeing some one person getting almost as many views as a Twitch, a Tekken World Tour event was absolutely blew my mind. So I think it's amazing.
I have to point on that note that was me explaining every time to like 20 different people who every single Twitch streamer was, because I think I'm pretty well. I tend to keep track of a lot of the sort of other esports titles, probably more so than most FGC people, because that's sort of my background.
Do you know what I absolutely loves, right? The fact that 14,000 people were watching this one dude at fighter rank press 44444.
Hey! He was also pressing 3333.
Yeah, occasionally.
No, I think like Jay said, I get it. These people are jumping on a game and they're not going to be the best at the game, and they're getting all this attention, and people are going to say, okay, it's undeserved because they're not as good as the people out there that are also streaming or whatever, and they've come from another game like Street Fighter, for example. And but I think they've earned their viewers through another game. Potentially the viewers that they are getting aren't necessarily Tekken viewers anyway. They're getting all the Tekken they get the Tekken wave, but they've probably got some sort of more dedicated fans.
I was going to completely say that they put the time in. They are all small streamers. Dyrus, he put like 5 years top League of Legends player for years, ended up retiring, really emotional retirement, ended up starting doing small streaming and things like that, rather than just playing. I think he didn't have a stream until that point, really. He just full-on competitive player, put his heart into games, and then switched into streaming. Forzen, the same thing. He was one of the best rogue players in Hearthstone at one point, played a lot of StarCraft for years, I think dabbled in a few PUBG tournaments as well at one point. This is when you're sort of switching to variety. So he's put in his work in terms of competitiveness, in terms of teams, in terms of learning, and actually creating a brand, whether it might be a bit trolly or memey, it's still a brand, and it works for him.
Yeah, it's a testament though of where the game is, if you know what I mean. If people switch to Tekken, it's a testament that people are seeing this game as a viable option to stream first and foremost. and how the game is actually growing, you know, in huge numbers, especially in the UK. We know now that it is the number one sort of fighting game in the UK currently.
Bigger than Street Fighter.
Yep.
What I do need to point is this is potentially just sort of a month long fad. Potentially, it's all well and good for everyone to get happy. It's going to bring an influx of players, but what we do need to do as a community as well is ensure the new influx of players aren't getting pushed away. I've been seeing loads of negative, just as many negative comments about Forza as well as positive. With watching him, people getting potentially, I would argue, slightly elitist towards the way he's playing, things like that. And people need to be careful about that because there's going to be a lot of new viewers who see this as their first interaction with Tekken or with any fighting game. And I think as a community we need to be better at that and better at introducing all the potential influx that are coming in.
There is that. I mean, fortunately, I've mentioned this before, we're actually quite lucky because we do so many events, so many casual community events. We see new people every week, whether it be online, whether it be offline. We see new people all the time, and the good thing about the community aspect of it is that we get to be their welcome mats. They're the first contact with the Tekken or normal FGC, because Tekken isn't the only game that we play. We play lots of other titles as well. So that is how I think the wider FGC should be in general.
Yeah.
You know, saltiness gets you so far, but you know, no one really likes that.
That's what I really liked about the fighting community. I knew nothing. I don't know anything about any fighting games at all before I actually picked up some fighters. So, and then my first event was Sunday Face Off, which I met a few guys there. And then the Manchester event, everyone was like just so open to talk to you, you know, introduce myself to everyone. And it's just so welcoming, and it's a lot maturer than other games. Like I've played from COD, you know, FPS games that are huge now. And like, there's so many people that are so childish, bad-mannered, immature. And you just don't see that much in the fighting community.
Oh, we have plenty of those.
Well, I've not come across many.
Yeah, the percentage is much lower, trust me, than the Call of Duty players. But I think what you were saying was right in terms of the community. I think in FGC in general, I think everyone's tends to be quite well versed in the game, and they kind of tend to be students of the game as well. And if you know they're not a student of the game, they tend to be quite knowledgeable. I think, and sharing that knowledge is key with new players. That's personally what I like about it. I think what Jay said was right. At the maturity levels, for me, you get people more who are more in tune with me personally as a 30-year-old.
Well, do you know what I like? You've got in the FGC, you've got people who come into it in waves, and you know it's widely documented. You've got people who are 89ers. You've got people who are 91ers. You get 2008ers. You get 16ers. You know, they all come in waves, and the oldest of us are still around. You know, you've got myself, you've got my buddy Super. We're commentating later on this week on KOF, by the way, so tune in for that one. We're still around, and we're doing good work in educating the next wave that's coming in. And I think that's how the FGC works. It's a self-perpetuating machine.
Based on what you said there, it's very true. It's very true because I think because it's an offline game as well. I think that lends itself to that because you're out there, and you're making friends, aren't you? You know, you see people like at the locals often. You know, at these events, even rivals become kind of like your friends over the years because you've been to that many events and you've seen them in the flesh. I think that's where that comes from. I don't know if you feel the same or.
Do you know? I'm gonna nod because I'm going to pretend that I heard what you said then.
Yeah, he's just nodding.
I didn't actually hear what you said. Could you repeat it, please?
No, I was just going to say because it's an offline title,
Yeah.
that you're seeing people in the flesh a lot more than you would if you played a game, and you make friendships there. That's basically what I was.
Oh, absolutely. Rivalries turn into friendships.
The point to mention is though, the crowd of people that are coming in through these new wave streams are all online people. They don't necessarily stick to offline as much as a lot of the community does. So it's about online behavior as well as offline.
Do you reckon that could be due to a lot of offline events not being advertised enough?
No, I don't think so. I think a lot of them come from other games where predominantly a lot of stuff is just done online. So Forza will have a lot of Hearthstone players. There's a lot of London or UK based events, but vast majority just play online. It's far simpler. They can just play on their phone, or same with PUBG. Tend to just play online. Large servers. You don't tend to have 100 people grouping up in a single room. StarCraft was nearly always the same. You didn't really have many LAN events, especially if we're talking UK specific.
Yeah, I used to play StarCraft myself. It was like mid-masters.
But it's just, I think, a community-based thing. His fans tend to flock online a lot more than I think offline. So it's also important to remember online community. Other Twitch chats don't go like people being rude. You never know who else is potentially watching in those sort of scenarios, and what representation you might be giving to potentially new players who've gone off. Oh, I don't want to watch Forza. I want to watch someone who's been playing for a while. So this game looks interesting. Let's see how someone who's been playing it for X amount of time looks. And they hop into the stream, and all they see is someone slagging off Forza. They don't particularly want to see that.
Yeah. Does Tekken have like a subreddit or a forum?
It does have a
Is it actively used?
Yeah, it's pretty active. Yeah. It's smaller than sort of like Hearthstone and stuff, but it is. You'll see daily posts, daily comments. I put it more akin to sort of a UK like League subreddit, that sort of level, not like a full-blown Hearthstone or League of Legends subreddit. So I think we're
here as well. There's Tekken Zaibatsu as well, so I've been on that.
Yeah,
that's kind of like a forum, isn't it? A bit of a community forum. So there's
also the ELF Discord, which is
to be fair.
I can plug.
To be fair, join the Discord, brother. It's awesome. There's lots of stuff going on. No, to be fair, our Discord is fairly quiet. But that is simply because it's a tool for us. That's not the heart of the elf community. The heart of the elf community is actually on WhatsApp.
Or offline, I think, more than WhatsApp, to be honest.
Offline. Yeah, but the Discord for us is a tool that we use for TNT. Yeah. And when TNT happens, it lights up.
It goes from dead to like, I can barely keep track of what's happening.
Exactly. You know, it's a brilliant tool, and that's what we use it for. But no, if you can find a Discord for your character, because there are character-specific Discords for Tekken, join it. If you can find one for matchmaking, join it. If you can do whatever, join it. Because that's the reason why we don't make our Discord, or try and make our Discord, the place to be. We don't need it to be. There's lots of other things, lots of other places that are doing it far better. For us, it's literally a tool for TNT.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm in a couple of WhatsApp groups myself actually, and they are interesting.
I want to bring up another point, which is, let's say there's a player who's unsponsored, and he's looking to get sponsored. How would a player approach? What sort of a meaningful way of a player can approach you guys and say, look, this is who I am. What would you expect a player who approaches you to sort of plan ahead, instead of just saying, look, sponsor me on Twitter via a tweet, which I feel like people do too much. And
the amount of like DMs and stuff on Twitter saying, hi, can you sponsor me, is unreal. From every game, every esports title, you just get so many DMs saying, can you sponsor me? And it's like, have a team application, like write a personal CV out, something like that. You know, your achievements, your plans for the future, events attended, past experiences, you know, just think of some structure. Think of it like a job application in a way.
That's actually a very good shout. For us, like I keep mentioning, because so many people come through the elf doors. I think the majority of the London players that come through the elf doors at one point or another, we actually get to meet them and talk to them personally. So we know their achievements, we know their highs, we know their lows, we know what they've done. We see them, how they play in all of our tournaments. We see them, how they play every single week, online and offline. So that's not necessary for us. But all of the players that we will sponsor, we know in one way or another.
Which is okay for teams like you, but like I know nothing about Tekken, so I need to see like on paper sort of something about the player, not just can you sponsor me.
A few years ago we had something similar, sort of the DM situation, getting a lot of DMs and getting inundated with emails and stuff like that. So we've got a good technical team. at Rise, because a lot of the management and people who contribute just voluntary are like developers of software developers. We built in like a recruitment portal essentially. It's like rise.pro/join, and essentially we get a lot of them every single day. Different games, as you say, as Jay says. But I don't know if your question, James, was more about sort of what would we say to people who are looking to do something in order to be sponsored. I don't know if that was more the question.
What sort of application would you look?
Yeah, exactly. So we've actually when I turn away good players, I generally reach out to them and give them a reason, and actually give them pointers of what the reason why we picked up one player over another and stuff like that, and things to work on. I think kind of what I was saying before regarding sometimes it might be sort of tournament experience. I know that sounds counterintuitive, but even just at the local scene, sometimes a local turnout is very, very low, and the experience there is very, very low. So I mean, we get players who are interested in joining, but generally only play online. And these kind of things, I say, okay, well, attend a local event, maybe an ELF event, or if you're north, an SFO or a Manchester NBA, and this kind of thing. So generally, activity would be the key thing I would look for. Activity.
I think that's a good shout, actually. You don't want to sponsor a person that's going to be sitting there, because I do see on Twitter occasionally the odd person who says, I need to be sponsored. And then you think, okay, well, I'll do some research. And you think, well, what have you done in the last 6 months? That makes me want to sponsor you.
Vern knows how I feel about this topic already. I think I've gone on plenty rants about the random Twitter posts that go, please sponsor me.
Exactly. And then they get tons and tons of retweets. And I'm like, well, who is this person? I mean, however, I will give you an example. There's one guy who's very, very good, Blackbeard. And he's probably not playing. I don't want to say it now. I've led myself into a trap here. He's played better than he has recently, but he's a very, very solid legacy player. And if anybody's out there, please pick this guy up. He's decent.
Yeah, we've been tagged in the Blackbeard tweets as well. And I'll be honest with you, like, I know he's a very good player, but I think because we were focused on the UK, I feel like European players, I think we're just not ready to take that step, because I feel like we have a commitment with the UK players that we've picked up. I know Blackbeard could potentially go, and take part in the UK tournament stuff, but I don't think there's enough of them that he should really, get on a plane to attend. And I feel
the thing is, sorry to cut you there. He doesn't have to come to the UK. There are plenty of events where he lives. I'll give you an example. Our community extends into Europe. We've got a couple of players overseas who attend tournaments overseas. They don't, using their ELF name, they don't attend over here at all, unless it's a big thing like Versus Fighting, for example. But we've got one guy in particular, I'm thinking of Super Lily, who's gone to tournaments in Germany, France, and he literally travels Europe because he lives in Luxembourg. He's sort of central, and he does very, very well. You don't have to sponsor somebody that's living on your doorstep.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not about not thinking that they have anywhere to play really, but more of the fact that I like to be quite hands-on. Like I say, we've taken a kind of our tech and division relationship to WhatsApp, because we generally do a lot of stuff on Discord and stuff like that. But internally, there's just like a tool, as you said. But I think the tech community like WhatsApp, and I'm quite involved with that conversation with my players particularly. And I just feel like there'd be a disconnect. Whereas, like I say, I've tried to pair up two from Bradford, 2 from Manchester, 2 from Birmingham, and 2 from London. So everyone's got, there's a connection through the spine of the team. And I feel like Blackbeard, I'd love to have him on the team, but would be kind of like it wouldn't work as the project and the focus that I want to give on the UK right now.
We couldn't have, because we couldn't afford him. It's that simple. I think he's that well-known a player that he would be probably expecting. Well, I don't know. I've not actually had this conversation with him, but I would assume, correct me if I'm wrong, that he would be expecting some kind of compensation that we personally couldn't match right now.
It's the same situation for us, really. I mean, we have a budget set for each 3 months, each quarter. And at the minute, we're very close to our budget on just Tekken and CS:GO, which is why we haven't looked into any other games at the minute. But we was set on just our 6 players. But then when Signal Farfalla came to us, we did have a chat about it and see if we wanted to do it, and then we thought it was the right move. But
And
Blackbeard
he's a
was
gent,
just
to be
too
fair.
much now.
Yeah, Senior Farfan is an absolute gent. Jamie's
Yeah.
he's a trooper. I
Super
love
nice
that
guy. I'm
Yeah.
glad we picked him up.
Yeah, it's been a lot of different topics, and I think we have. Wait, Vern, I believe you had something you wanted to bring up, or am I confusing that with something else?
I probably did, but I don't have my notes with me, so there's some.
Okay.
Could I do a quick plug?
Yeah, go
So,
for it.
We have an event on Friday, the 28th, in Manchester. I know there's going to be a lot of people from London and other places that are not going to necessarily want to travel to this. That's fine. But anyone who is in the north, we are doing a Manchester tournament on Friday, 28th. We've upped the bracket. It's called Iron King 2.
Is that at Belong in Manchester?
It is. It is at Belong in Manchester, the Trafford Centre.
Ah, Belong.
Can I just say my opinion on Belong?
Yeah.
It's great what they've got, but I think it's all just a big money-making scheme from the game. All they do, they want people to pay to advertise their company, which I don't agree with at all.
See, I'm in a difficult position here because where we have a community, a lot of our guys have benefited from Belong, i.e., the guys who've been on the winning teams have managed to get some nice reward points to spend elsewhere. But however, having said that, there've also been a couple of guys that have gone on to do some great things with Belong. Like, for example, a couple of commentators for us, Stu and Nile, Eternal Dragon, and Abominable, have been the anchors for their Belong Arena Clash on the commentary team for the last 2 seasons, I think it is.
Yeah.
Has it been 3 seasons, or are we still on 2?
I think it was 2. I don't recall.
Let's assume it's 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So
I didn't watch
for
the
us-
third. If there was more than 2.
let's assume it's 2 seasons. So for us, it's good in that respect. We've been supporting the project. However, what I would like to see is the Belong side of things supporting communities more. Not just saying, come to us, because I'm not being funny, right? In London, you're sport for choice. We don't have to go to Belong to spend money to play on their community nights, because we've got 3 options. You've got Elf, you've got Red Bull, you've got lots of free options. There's enough people living around London that you can just turn up on your doorstep and have a session with. So I would prefer to see Belong supporting local communities better than saying, come to our place and spend money.
Yeah, I fully agree. It'd be nice to say if Belong did a tournament and say put 500 quid, £1,000. It's game. It's a massive company. They
Exactly,
can do
they
that.
can
So
do
why
that.
are they not doing that for the community? The amount of interest that they'll bring towards the Belong arenas will be huge, and it's not a big investment for them at all.
No, it's not. It's not. And I remember having a conversation with the higher ups in Belong at one point and saying, look, I run a community and you have to give of yourself if you want to receive. You have to give away stuff in order for people to take you seriously. Otherwise, people see through you.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally agree.
And I think I'm going to probably call that a session, actually. It's been absolutely lovely having you guys here. As usual, this has been one of our special editions with team owners. So we've had the lovely Hulk, Rise Hulk, who's been talking a fair substantial amount with us tonight. Although it has been great.
For all that content.
Yeah.
Dog.
He's been lovely. We've had the reserve James, but he's brought up some amazing points throughout today's session as well. When he has come up and pushed through Hulk a little bit. And we've also had the baritone Grimulus, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just those subtle baritone vocals coming out, which everyone knows and loves you for. It's been a great session, as usual. I've been Jebs. Hoping you guys had sort of a lovely time here listening. If you got any points as well, or anything you guys want us to talk about, don't feel free to tweet at East London Twitter, or even Rise, or even 200 Knives. And I'm sure the others will get us involved no matter what. Tweet at any of us, and we're happy to start some discussions based on if you disagree or agree with any of the points we've been mentioning. Have a poke over there, and we'll obviously get back to you on those. And that's been, I think, what was it, the 6th character select? And that's all, folks. We're going to see you guys shortly.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
See you later.
Yeah, thanks for having us. See ya.